Tommy Stacking.NYC coming to you. Yeah, well, it's Saturday night. We're doing a little live. Hey, Ari, how are you? Good to see you, my brother. Lots of love, coast to coast. I was thinking about you today. I found a couple Disney coins. Deep stack hidden, Coin Collector 113, Jason Randall, The Vault. Chris, how are you? Ladies and gentlemen, we're here to go live tonight with Hero Bullion. My friend Jake. Let's get him in here. The original BMB. Pegleg, what's up? Sean, Coins and Bullion. And ladies and gentlemen, here he is, Jake Haugen, Hero
What's
Bullion.
up, man? How you doing?
What's up, brother? How are you?
Good. What do you think? How did the Corona cut go? Check it
No
out.
complaints. Can you give me a recommendation of who your barber is? Maybe I can bring him here to Pennsylvania, where I'm riding out the storm.
She lives with me, so.
Okay. All right. So, we've been talking for a little while, and I was really intrigued to get to know you a little bit. I think your content was great. The first stuff that I saw from you, I was so impressed. I was like, wow, what great presentation, what great information. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us who you are. Introduce yourself to everybody who's in here.
All right. Well, my name is Jake Haugen. I reside in a suburb of Dallas here. Husband, 5 children. I've been a stacker my whole life. I started when I was 9 years old. I had a paper route. On that paper route was a coin shop, and I was always kind of enamored going to the coin shop. And so I made my very first purchase when I was about 9 or 10. Bought a peace dollar, 1923 peace dollar.
Wow.
Yeah, and just kind of the coins have always drawn me in. I got in with a larger coin dealer in the Midwest. Worked for him for a number of years, and it was kind of one of those experiences where I didn't have a ton of experience in bullion or coins outside of just being a hobbyist. So I didn't quite understand how awesome the experience was that I had. And coming out the back end of that, I was like, wow, that was something incredible. I was 21 years old, managing about $20 million in inventory, obviously. Wow. Along with a group of other guys. But being exposed to that amount
that's almost as much as I sell on a Monday night in my auction.
Oh yeah,
I'm really impressed.
so
well, yeah, Stacking Coins in here, he accounts for about 3/4 of those sales.
Yeah. So we I went to school. I went to school for engineering down in Florida.
Very nice. Electrical, mechanical.
Civil, actually.
Civil.
But I'm a college dropout. I was given an opportunity. I was given an opportunity,
that's true.
And I mean, honestly, I had a few semesters left of school, and I just wasn't feeling it. I've always been kind of drawn to the metals. Had an opportunity to start a company with a couple of other buddies, and so we did that. We started primarily a wholesale company, and out of
what's the name of the company? Let them off the hook or not?
Well, out of that was born Provident Metals. So I'm one of the founders of Provident Metals.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
We launched that back in 2009. So yeah, this is kind of a coming out party for me. Everyone, well, hopefully most people are, kind of aware of what's going on with Provident. Provident now is owned by JM Bullion. When I found out that the company was for sale about a year ago is when I stepped away. Just wasn't interested, in going through that and working for somebody else and whatnot. I'm
surprised they didn't hit you with a non-compete clause.
No, we made sure that wasn't we made sure that wasn't in there. Come on, I'm a little smarter than that. I love this.
Good move.
So yeah, we took some time off with the family. A website and the bullion business can be like crazy demanding when it comes to your family commitment, your time commitments. In an instance like we're experiencing now, with crazy high demand, you're talking, 16, 18-hour days, basically living at the office. And so, we've been doing that for 13 years and said, hey, let's take a little bit of time off. So we went out, we bought the camper, did the whole epic summer thing, came back in the fall, and then it was what's next, and
that's amazing. Yeah.
And that brought us to, brought us to the fall through the holiday season and whatnot. And I'm just thinking, what do I really want to do? How do I want to move forward for the next 10, 20 years, hopefully trying to think as long as we can. And that's where Hero Bullion comes from. You know, I sat there and said, you know, I've been through this with the Provident experience, and what would I do differently? How would I handle things differently? And it really, ultimately, what it ended up being was like, what's a true expression of my personal thoughts on bullion? Well, let's just make
Right.
that pretty straightforward, right? Like, if I feel something, the company's going to feel it, you know? And so
Well,
that's
we are in any business model. I'm a strong believer that we are our brand, and we actually had this conversation before. Whether
yeah,
it's social media or even a concept like Hero Bullion, you want to do things a certain way. You want to treat people a certain way, and sometimes you can't do that in a corporate environment.
yeah, yeah. Makes it difficult, especially when other voices are involved, and you know you have conflicting views or thoughts and whatnot. So yeah, this Hero Bullion's just me. I mean, we're getting ready to launch. The website is coming along. Awesome. It's going to be a website. Uh, be active here on Instagram as well. But we've been plowing full steam ahead on the website, trying to get that thing to production to start selling.
So, what do you think, or how do you think Instagram will be a part of your business model going? Because you're used to e-commerce in a retail environment like Provident, right?
Mhm.
And I guess that's mostly what Hero Bullion is going to be, a website, e-commerce.
Yeah.
What do
Yeah.
you see like the role of Instagram in supporting
Well,
your business?
I see it as an opportunity to kind of peel the curtain back here. You know, I've always been a big fan of transparency. You know, when I was with Provident, we did a few things. We did a few Facebook Lives and stuff like that to try and bring the community in. And thinking about Hero Bullion, what it's going to be, I came to the conclusion that I want to be a part of the community. I want to give to the community. I want to take from the community. I mean, I enjoy going to your auctions. They're great. I've actually feel like I've found some pretty cool stuff that I wasn't that I hadn't taken the time to find myself. You know, but a lot of it's about transparency and just bringing the community into the experience at a deeper level. And what I mean by that is, you know, when you shop at a lot of other places, you don't know who you're dealing with. When you deal with Hero Bullion, you're going to deal with me. This thing is not. This is not.
The buck stops here.
Yeah, this is not an AppMex or, you know, like, I'm not trying to kill any of those other companies. This is for us.
And we've talked about that. You know, in any environment, especially, you know, stacking or investing in coins or the hobby of coins. It's such a small market, and there's so much room to grow. I don't feel like if you and I collaborate on something, it's going to hurt me, or, you know,
No.
it's going to hurt you. Like, we can even work together, two separate companies, two separate entities, on growing the business,
Yeah.
growing the industry, growing the hobby. And, you know, if you make a little bit more than me, who cares? Like, we're doing something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah. Yep.
You know?
I think
Steve Austin had a
sorry,
real quick. I just want to go before I forget. Steve Austin had a great question. Are you going to be? Did Provident have their own presses? And is Hero Bullion going to be a striking mint? Are you guys going to strike your own stuff, or?
Provident never had their own presses. For a portion of the time that I was there, Elemental actually owned Provident, part of it, and
That's right.
And they had their own mint. Everyone knows about the Elemental debacle and what went on there. That was.
We love Elemental.
They made some awesome stuff. I mean, they minted Zombucks. That was like, Zombucks was a really big deal. I remember driving to Florida and calling up our creative director and saying, hey, you know, I was a big fan of The Walking Dead at the time, which I fell off after about season 8, and it got kind of silly for me. But I was a huge fan early on, and we're driving down. I'm driving to Florida, and I'm saying, why has nobody done a zombie coin? Well, I mean, that's the wonderful thing that a mint. What do you got there? I can't see it. Oh, you got the Spartan, yeah.
Now, were you involved? Were you with Provident when they were doing this series?
Yeah. That the Spartan round is actually designed by the former CEO of Provident, Joe Merrick, and so Joe lives in Samoa now. He's left Provident. He's in Samoa. He's working on a couple other another company, but he also has a YouTube page that you guys can go and see what they're about. It's not bullying related. It's like a family vlog. But he designed that for him. He designed that for Provident to sell, and I think they came out with the Aztec and a few others. But yeah.
Now you also had your hand in some design features. I mean, if not outright, but like even
Yeah.
influence. And
Oh yeah. Yeah,
you want to talk about that a
absolutely.
little bit? I
Well,
know
I mean,
Steve Austin would find that interesting.
yeah, I mean, the World of Dragons series, that was something that I felt passionate about for years and just could never get it completed. Finally, I did get that into production. I was really happy with it. The Aztec was actually sculpted by Don Everhart, who is a former U.S. Mint sculptor. And so, I mean, he did a phenomenal job. If you look on that Aztec round, which I think you sold them in the past recently, Tommy, you can see a little DE there. I believe it's on the obverse at about 8 o'clock, somewhere in there.
I think I still have a couple floating
Yeah,
around.
that's Don Everhart. So yeah, I worked on the World of Dragons through the first couple of issues. Then it was passed off because that's when I had left about a year ago. But also, worked on the Four Horsemen series. The Four Horsemen was something that I love. I mean, it's just a
Yeah.
kind of a cool concept.
I know one of the biggest fans of the Four Horsemen series is Charlie Mack, who's actually doing a game tonight, guys. So when we're done, or at any point, if you want to like dip back and forth, check out Charlie Mack NYC. He's doing a game tonight. Great guy, lots of fun. Check him out. I want to talk a little bit about like what you've seen in the metals markets, less from a personal experience, more like observational. Like, where have you seen metals in the past? Where do you see them now? Where do you see them going in the future?
Yeah,
In general.
I think I'll start with what we experienced back around 2011, let's say. I remember there was an Easter 2011 when stuff was just selling incredibly. That was the point in time when we had customers who were buying silver maple boxes rather than silver eagle boxes because they take up less space. I mean, that's the level that people were stacking at. It was totally incredible. Everyone was selling demand forward, and we're seeing that again right now. You have the major dealers selling their demand forward, and I've seen a lot of comments online about people upset and calling price gouging and being upset about high premiums. And so if you'll just go through an exercise with me, think about the three levels. You have the consumer, you have the retailer, and you have the wholesaler. Okay, the wholesalers are the ones that the average consumer generally doesn't hear about. Those guys that there's a publicly traded company, A-Mark is one, Dill & Gage is another, Coins and Things out of Massachusetts, that's another. They're all big, strong companies.
CNT.
Yeah, CNT is amazing. They do a great job. But so you're the consumer. You're trying to get silver. In this case, you're trying to get silver when two crazy things are happening. Everyone wants it, and nobody can make it. The reason they can't make it is because we have coronavirus, right? So you have these two. You have a perfect storm, essentially, right? Then you have a retailer that says, hey, I may have 10 or 20,000 or 100,000 of whatever product in stock, but I can't see any more on the horizon. And so if I don't see any more on the horizon, I don't want to lay my employees off. I need to make my money on these rounds here because I don't have any in the pipeline. Okay. And then you have the wholesaler, or what we in the industry call the majors. Okay. The Dill & Gage, the A-Mark and whatnot. These majors, they're scooping up absolutely. They're scooping up everything that they possibly can get from every single mint around the world. And it's a mad dash of who has the cash first, who's willing to buy the demand out as far as possible, and
Demand forward.
Yeah. And in a lot of ways, they do set that premium. So the premium you're seeing from the retailers, they're not really making as much as it appears that they are, because the majors are charging them a pretty substantial premium. Part of that is because, again, crazy demand, but also the majors don't know. We had the Royal Canadian Mint shut down. There was no
Perth Mint was shut down.
Yeah, Perth
Geiger
US
shut
Mint
down.
was shut
Camp
down,
shut down,
and then back up and down. So I mean, really, this is unprecedented in a lot of ways, but specifically for bullion, I mean, we're seeing this crazy perfect storm. We were planning on launching Hero Bullion May 1st. We've had to delay that to 11th, which is Monday. And be honest, we're not going to make it the 11th. Part of that is because prior to all this going on, gold inventory was like a day out. I could make a call, say, okay, get the gold here. It would be here the next day, and then we could open the doors. Silver inventory would be 3 to 5 days. Some of the private mints that just make stuff to order, they'll be 2 weeks out. But a lot of the private mints, you would just call up a major and source, indirectly from the private mints that way.
Right,
All that
exactly.
inventory is gone. All the private mints are out 6 to 8 weeks. U.S. Mint is out.
100%.
I mean, this is the best of times and the worst of times for stackers right now. I love it. It's great though.
Hold on, and I'm going to tell you to buy more because I love selling silver, but don't take my word for it. One of the examples I like to use, and you're really hitting on a lot of the, the demand forward, the supply chain crunches. One of the parallels, and like I say, guys, I do not give investment advice. You know me. I say silver is a hobby. It's a store of wealth, and maybe if we're all lucky, we made a good investment, right? But here's what I'm seeing, and maybe you can address this, or you sort of have. But in 2008, we had a recession. The market crashed, and very similar to then, what happened now, once again, is people had to get liquid for the margin calls. They sold off silver holdings. They sold off gold holdings. They sold off their metal holdings, and prices in metals tanked at a time when, intuitively we were saying metal should be going up, right? But what's happening now is the same thing that happened in 2008. The market crashed in 2008. Metals dropped in 2008. I want to say it hit a low at the end of 2008 and sub 15.
Yeah.
Okay. And we know what happened in 2011, $50 silver.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's going to happen again, but I'm saying we are seeing much of the same pattern, if not better conditions to make that happen, including those supply chain crunches. What are your thoughts?
Well, the thing that I'm paying attention to right now, I agree 100%. I love to see that paper spot price and the physical spot price diverge. I love it because
massive divergence.
It's strength for the industry. The other thing that I think it provides the average stacker is physical silver in and of itself is a hedge, not just the spot price of silver. Having physical silver is a hedge because the premium's compensated for the drop in spot price.
That's right.
So, we're trading right now, like silver is about $4 higher. I'll give you an example. Silver Eagles, under normal circumstances, I can get those for about $2.12, right, over spot. And then you'll see prices on the retail at box quantity at $2.50, $2.39, whatever. Crazy tight premiums, right? Or crazy tight spreads. Right now, Silver Eagles are between $6 and $7 wholesale. Okay, so the physical market is acting like it's about $4 or $5 higher, let's say, right? So you got 15 and change or whatever. We have $19 silver right now, physical. Okay. The other thing that I think is really, really important, go look up a chart after sometime further on, but look at the 5-year gold to silver ratio. And this is why I'm such a huge fan of silver right now, because it's a great opportunity. What is more likely, gold doubles or silver doubles? If you ask me, I think silver doubles much faster than gold doubles.
No brainer in my mind.
I love it right now.
Now I want to bring this up. This is always something that's intrigued me. JP Metals, I love what you said. He basically said the industries that depend on silver for their products, they wouldn't be able to sustain the price levels if silver went to $50 an ounce. I'm going to tell you why that's false from an economics point of view, right? The reason that's sort of false is because let's take a big hamburger seller like McDonald's. Everybody says, oh, they can't raise their minimum wage because, everything would have to go up. They sell millions upon millions of Big Macs a year. All it would take would be a nickel raise to create tens of millions of dollars a year. You know what I'm saying? And it's similar with cell phones. You're talking about a gram of silver per cell phone, right? For example. And if silver went to $50 an ounce, you'd be looking at $1.50 versus 50 cents. So people who buy a $1,000 cell phone, if Apple had to raise it to $1,005, nobody's going to bat an eye. I mean, an economy of scale, if that makes sense. But I like that point, and it's an interesting point. And there is something that industry does as silver goes up to the extent that they can do it, and that's called thrifting. That's called thrifting, which means that they find ways to use less. Well, do we need silver in this circuit? Can we use copper? You know, do we have to use silver here? Can we find another way around it? You know, so that's a great point. And as many of you may know, I'm a bull on silver, particularly because of industry, which accounts for what, Jake, 60% of consumption.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's actually a little bit more, but I've heard you say it before, and I'm in total agreement that you know, gold is. I feel like gold is money, and silver not so much. Because of that, like, okay, you talk about diversifying. People say precious metals or, you know, equities, or, like, you know, the thing that's rocked my world recently has been the fact that the Fed came out and said that they're going to start buying bonds, you know, and even junk bonds, which is just, I mean, that blows my mind. And they haven't had to act on it yet, by the way. At least last I saw.
There are, you know, I pay very close attention to the economy. There are Fortune 500 companies right now who are defaulting on their corporate bonds.
Right. And the Fed is going to go buy those, which there's, you know, I don't look into this a little bit. They set up essentially a shell company because the Fed is prohibited by the Federal Reserve Act of 1913. They're prohibited from providing this type of financing essentially to these companies.
They find a way around it.
They
Quasi-governmental,
set
you
up
know.
a shell company. Like, this is stuff that people go to jail for, guys, and the Fed's doing it. It's incredible, you know. But
It's unbelievable.
It blows my mind to read this stuff. It comes out like daily at this point. You know, we're in some pretty crazy times.
You know, Lamont Deborah asked a great question. What price would you sell? Now, I'm gonna remove myself from my business component that I'm a dealer, that I, you know, sell bullion for a living at this point. Because I don't look at silver as an investment, I don't have strike prices, meaning, like, I'm not going to say, okay, I'm going to invest an extra $1 million if it hits this, and I'm going to sell and make $1 million if it hits that. I personally don't do that, and I never did it as a stacker. And I can share my strategy, and we'll let Jake answer it his way also. But I always look at silver as a store of wealth. So when people talk to me about an exit strategy from silver, my question becomes, well, what's your exit strategy with your savings account? You don't have one. You use it as you need it. For me, if I bought silver at 18 and I was in a jam and I needed to sell it at 17, it's being sold at 17.
Yep.
It's my store of wealth. And it's there for me. As long as you own silver, you will never be broke. If you know, it skyrockets, would I move it more aggressively? Would I have in my long-term sort of hedge? Absolutely, I'm sure I would. If it hit $50, I'll move it. I'll take it to the melter. I'll bring them 1,000 ounces tomorrow, you know, and I'll buy a house or something and diversify further. But I don't know that there's a number in my mind, or that we need to think of silver, in my opinion, you know, an exit strategy for metals. Enjoy it as a store of wealth, and if you need it, it's there. And what are your thoughts?
Okay, so I purchased from two different standpoints. One is a seller. Okay, been there, done that, and one is, you know, like, I live, eat, and breathe this. Okay, so let's start with my personal thoughts. Like, for me, bullion is about legacy, right? I mean, like I said earlier, I have 5 children. I have zero plans to sell any of the bullion that I don't need to. Let's say, right? You know,
Right, as part of your business model.
Yeah, I mean, this is about me. It's a store of value. It's something that I feel I understand really well, and I honestly, I don't care if it goes down to $15 an ounce, like we're experiencing right now, because I know it's worth more. I feel like it's worth more. If it goes up to $50 an ounce, I may be tempted, but I don't. I really, man, I don't know. I would have to.
Right, we don't know. We don't know.
Yeah, I would have to see. Now, as a dealer, there's one thing you have to understand about dealers. Dealers love volatility. Okay, and the reason they love volatility is because volatility motivates the market to buy. Okay, if silver is tanking, we're seeing a crazy demand spike, is what I have always called it. We've seen this crazy retail demand spike. If silver is climbing, the exact same thing happens, and sometimes even at a more ferocious rate. Now, yeah. Where I see people saying dealers are holding inventory back, I think I addressed that earlier. They're not holding inventory back. They want to sell stuff. Dealers are not in the business to make money on spot going up or down. Okay,
exactly, right.
And that's because we use hedging. We hedge our inventory. If we wanted to speculate on the price of precious metals, there are much more efficient ways to do it than to have a bunch of physical inventory that I have to ship to somebody and worry about fraud and, you know, the logistics of it and the insurance and all those types of things. Dealers
Exactly
make
right.
money when they sell. They sell when we have volatility. Okay. And so dealers always want to sell. They always want to have inventory. As long as they're properly hedged, they have less exposure to the market than you do. Okay. And that's not a bad thing. You're choosing to take on that exposure by investing in silver. They're choosing to expose themselves to the market from a demand aspect. Right. So
I really like the way you just said that.
yeah,
There is a certain conscious choice you make once you decide this is a real business for you, that you're now exposed to the market fluctuations in the way that we are. It's you know, and for me, I'm newer in the business in the last couple of years. It can be scary.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially the minute to minute. You know, and everyone has to decide what that number is. You know, you have X amount left at the end of the month. How much are you going to buy in silver? Okay, that's a personal decision for everybody. Some people are really sophisticated with their investing. Some people are all in on silver. I've met plenty of stackers who are just all in on gold and silver. And I always talk about silver because I'm a fan of silver. I've always been a fan of silver. As a young kid, it was always, I couldn't afford gold. And so I always felt like I got so much more for my money when I bought silver.
I just want to say, Spectacular, you just won this beat up wheat penny for $25. I'm going to throw in shipping. Because that's the kind of guy I am. Thank you, Spectacular. I hope your auction went well last night. Right there's a good dude.
Nice.
We have fun. We have fun with these lives.
Yeah. Well, you know, this is my first time on live, so I'm sitting here like, am I gonna do this right? You know.
Oh, you've messed it all up, man. No, that's
yeah,
it.
Apparently I did.
It's destroyed. So, you know, I like to talk a lot about, you know, I as a stacker. Let me start here, right? As a stacker, as I was learning about silver, and you know, it started when I was also around 9 years old. My dad was like, he loved to stack. He loves coins. He loved numismatics more than I did. I think because he was retired, he had more time than I did. But for me, I always like, you know, sat on the Google and was like, oh, let me silver investing, this and that, and everything that came up. The trend I noticed was two things. It was talk about silver as an investment. And it always said the same thing. Every time silver dropped, just like you said, oh, well, the chart's forming this and it's that, and it's ready to skyrocket. And every time it went up, they would say, oh, the charts are saying this, and it's just going to keep going up. And it was never true. The pundits, the analysts, they were never right. They were never right. The other thing that I noticed in my experience as I sat alone in bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm the Google doing my little clicky search, you know, there was a lot of fear driven motivation for buying and investing in the metals. You know, the economy is going to collapse. And I'm not saying that none of that is true, right?
Yeah.
But for me, you know, we talk about being the brand and our own philosophy. To me, it was important about saying, you know what? I've been doing this for decades, and I'm tired of hearing about silver as an investment, and it's 1/3 the price it was in 2011. I don't want to hear you tell me that metals are an investment. I don't want to hear that. You know, if you can't give me what I paid for silver in 1980 when it hit $50, don't talk to me about it as an investment. Right? Mm-hmm. So to me, I said, it's a hobby. It's something that we can come together around as a community. We can have fun with it, you know, and we have a store of wealth, because as long as you have silver, you'll never be broke. Do you have a philosophy about metals, whether it be about an investment, a hedge, a save, whatever?
Yeah, so I would call it an investment as much as, let's say, real estate might be. Okay, in that, you know, annually throw a rental property out that provides you, you know, cash on a monthly basis. Let's just say, you know, you bought a house and you're feeling like the market's gonna go up. Okay, you know, I see silver as an investment in that aspect. It doesn't provide you a dividend. You know, you don't keep your 100 ounces and get $200 a month out of it. You know, the only way that you're able to secure any type of like profit or gain on it is through liquidation, right?
Right.
So my approach to silver is to try and marry the two, the investment or saving aspect of silver with the hobby, because invariably I see this happen all the time. There's two routes that people come in through. One is, I'm worried about the government collapsing, our money's inflating, we're going to see hyperinflation, let me get as much silver as I can from my bang for my buck, and so they take a bunch of their assets and they put them into gold and silver. What happens to that person over the course of a few months, years, whatever? Their knowledge increases, and then they get bored. They want to start. They like, okay, what's the cool thing you got for me? What's next? What's the hot thing coming out? Now, the other way they come in is more through the hobbyist, where it's just kind of onesie twosie. I think this is a cool coin, and those people will end up accumulating a vast amount of wealth through these, let's say, more collectibles or proofs and all these kinds of different limited mintage type pieces, where I like those because you have two ways to win, right? If silver goes to $50 an ounce, that collectible piece is going to have $50 worth of silver plus whatever premium, okay? If silver stays where it's at, there's a chance that this premium could increase. That's why I'm such a fan. I did a short piece on the Kraken from the Royal Canadian Mint. If you go to my page, you can see I said, hey, I think the Kraken.
Oh, wrong Kraken.
I love the Kraken.
This is a different Kraken, but
get that one out of here. I'm talking about the new one. This is
wrong Kraken
from the Royal Canadian Mint, Creatures of the North. The reason I like it is because it's the first release in a series. Like, if you don't buy any of the others, buy the first one, because your chances, it's at bullion premium right now. You're not paying some crazy premiums. I got a few of them just for the heck of it. Like, okay, I think this is a good buy. And we tried to do that over the years. But in a roundabout way, to answer your question, my philosophy at this point is, like I always tell my kids, number one, handle your business. What does that mean? It means, make your bed, take a shower, do all the necessary things, the core things in bullion. Okay, get your bases covered from a financial investment standpoint, and then have fun, man. That's what I love about bullion. It's a hobby, it's a community, and that's what I've really enjoyed this past couple months being on Instagram. Is talking with people like you. I can't believe how many people have reached out through DM and just kind of like encouraged me or said thanks for this, or commented on them.
You have great content. You really do.
I love the community, and so. Yeah, I feel kind of bad. I haven't put a ton of stuff out recently. We've just been so busy with the website. I'm kind of spent sometimes, so I can't.
Ed, I can't answer for Jake, but I think he'd probably answer similarly to me. I'm not going to comment on whether you should continue to invest in metals or you're losing 401k. I mean, a lot of people have lost money in their 401k and their retirements right now. I can tell you what happened in 2008. I look at history. People lost their asses. The people who sold at the rock bottom market in 2008, they got hurt worse. The people who kind of rode it out, it came back. I think that diversification is a good thing. I can't give you specific advice on your 401k versus metals. Not even from a selfish point of view. As somebody, I like you. You're a friend. You're a neighbor over in Philadelphia. Diversify. Keep your 401k. Buy some metals. Listen to a financial advisor who's much smarter than I am. That's your best bet. Do you have a take on whether somebody should 401k metals, pull out of their 401k for metals?
I won't give any advice that way, because obviously we have to be careful about that. But the thing that comes to my mind is kind of the tagline for Hero Bullion right now is "Be your own hero," right? And what is that about? I'm a firm believer that provided with the correct information, only you know what decision needs to be made for your family. And that's about you being your own hero. That's where Hero Bullion comes from.
But do you double down on a hard 12 against a deuce?
What?
Blackjack. Do you play blackjack?
No, I don't do blackjack. I play roulette. That's my game.
Okay.
I love roulette. I do a little progressive betting system that's worked out okay for me in the past. And so I've never been kicked out or anything. And I think I've only had a couple of losing sessions, but I love
thanks Captain Redbeard for the gambling inspiration. Plague metals. I like what you're saying. Stack at a safe place. You shouldn't be buying silver as a hobby, like from my perspective, right? If you invest in it through a financial advisor, that's different. But stack from a safe place. I like that, man. And I've said this 1,000 times in the past. You should not be buying any silver, if your rent's not paid. You should not be buying silver using a credit card unless you know you're going to pay it off immediately.
Yes,
If you're getting
100%.
points and you know you're going to pay it off immediately, do not go into credit card debt to buy silver. Don't go into debt. Keywords. You can use it. I mean, I use my credit card and pay it off all the time. We all do that. Just make sure that your level of spending, what I like to say is hobby level. So if my hobby budget is $100 a month, and some of your savings budget. So if my hobby money is $100 a month and $200 a month is my savings budget, put your $100 hobby money into it, or some of it, and consider a portion of your savings money into silver. And that way, like Jake said, if you get a little bit of a haircut, at least you're sitting on something. You're always gonna be good. There's something else I want to talk about, which has always been intriguing to me, and I saw it pop up a couple of times.
Tommy
I call it
a financial advisor. I see that Tommy's cap trend.
Oh man. Don't buy any stock in retailers. I agree with that right now. That is not advice. I wouldn't be buying any retailers right now.
Sorry, Tommy.
Another story. But I like to talk about, and you talked about this for a second too, Jake. I call it diversifying your stack, even within a silver degenerate like myself, right? Different things react different ways. So anything from, for example, a buffalo to an American eagle to a Krusty the Clown piece or a Marvel superhero piece, they all react to the market differently. Fractionals, they all have their purpose. Fractionals are great for a crisis situation. For bartering, it's not far-fetched. A lot of times people say, oh, conspiracy theory. No, even Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico, banks were down, ATMs were down, lights were out, and people had to barter. There were instances where people had to barter. If you're in a position where you have to barter, even for a short period of time, nobody wants your video game console, but they'll take some silver. Trust me.
That's why I'm such a huge fan of 90% silver. I mean,
yes.
Right now we've seen all these premiums go crazy, but 90% hasn't reacted that way fully. The premiums have gone up, but you can still get 90 out there, and I'm such a huge fan of 90, even more so after experiencing this. So yeah, I totally agree. Let me give you an example of what happens on a macro level, let's say in the bullion, and we'll call this the Bullion Noomi industry. Okay, we all go to coin shows. Bullion dealers go to coin shows, and numismatists go to coin shows, right? When metals are crazy, all the numismatists want to buy bullion from us because they got people asking about it, right? And so it's those are always the best of shows for the bullion dealers. When we go to the shows and let's say the economy's great and there's not a lot of interest, people aren't scared about the market tanking, then they have that like disposable income. They're trying to buy collectibles, and we're crickets on the bullion side. So we do have kind of to complement what you said, there is that kind of inverse relationship when it comes to like collectibles versus just straight cash bullion type product.
Yeah,
we see it.
Like let's say in a year or two we go through a 2008 to 2011 cycle and we're hitting $30 silver, right? A $30 eagle, this or that, blah, blah. But then let's just say, for example, a week later it tanks to 20. That collector's piece you bought might not necessarily lose that same $10.
Yeah,
that an eagle will, or a piece of bullion will.
Yeah, I will counter that. From a liquidity standpoint, you might run into some problems on the collector stuff. And so a piece, and what I'm saying is to essentially liquidate $5,000 worth of stuff. It's a lot easier to call up and say, hey, I got a couple thousand or a couple hundred silver eagles versus I got 4 of these and 5 of those and 1 of these.
Yeah,
and this,
right, that's true. Right, exactly.
Okay, and so where I would tell people to just bullion's about legacy for me. Okay. I
agree. We're dads.
I document all my stuff. I hope to God I never have to sell any of this stuff. If I don't have to sell any of this stuff, my kids are getting it, right? but they'll know what they're getting, you know? And so one of the best lessons I learned when I was about 20 years old, coin dealer,
I agree, Steve Austin.
every 6 months, he goes through his entire inventory and revalues it, and then provides a list of people and places where he can sell it. If I have a heart attack, if anything happens, you know, this is, I don't know about his, you know, if he's got some kind of trust or if it's in his will or not, but his kids know that there's a document out there that has all that information. It's kept with the bullion, you know, with all that. I mean, that documentation is really important because you're doing the favor. If that situation ever arises, they're not going to want to, they're just going to want to be done with it. Okay. So provide them either the information they need to liquidate if they have to, or the instruction to, say, hey, here's what it is. Save it, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
I've seen it too many times where people have just been burned.
Chris, I agree. Never selling and your daughter's getting all of it, but make sure there's a plan that your daughter or somebody you love knows how to dispose of it in a way that really benefits her, because we all know that there are predators out there that will love to take your stuff at spot or below spot if they can get it, and they'll be happy to make 20-30% on your daughter's inheritance. So always know, like Jake said, have a plan, have a way around it. Be careful of predators out there, guys. You know, I try to be an ethical buyer. I do not ever offer spot or below personally. My business model is I will pay you above spot, and I expect a premium for my time and effort. And, you know, I still manage to stay within reason of my competitors' prices, ethics, and have a plan. I will be happy to auction off your stuff, Justin. Trying to
Let's hope we don't get there, Justin.
So before, we're going to move on to a very serious, topical, relevant, timely conversation. But I need to know what your favorite flavor of jelly bean is.
Favorite? Okay. I told you I have 5 kids. My favorite flavor is booger. Okay. If you've ever got the box, have you guys got the box of Jellybeans? Okay. It's the best thing ever. You get the box of Jellybeans, and there's two different flavored that look exactly the same. Let's say they're brown. One is dog poop and the other is chocolate. So you play a game.
Great.
You play a game with your kids, and one's booger and the other's lime or something. I'm just saying.
Actually, I think I've done this.
With the kids. It's about the experience with the kids. I'd rather have a Starburst or something. I'm not big on jelly beans, but yeah. All right.
So you ready? No, in all seriousness now, this is important. I just a little banter, a little conversation about the emergency eagle. What do you think, man? 240,000 minted out of Philadelphia because of COVID. Only identifier being on the monster box. Only verification is through the grading services. What are your thoughts?
Well, I along with a bunch of other dealers were shocked. We have a couple different dealer networks that we trade on, and I watch that stuff real religiously. A box of those sold for like $25 per ounce over spot, and there were dealers.
So hold on a second, guys. What he means is pre-grading.
Yes.
He's saying the raw eagles, a monster box sold basically $40 each.
Mm-hmm.
$40 per eagle.
Yeah.
And then they have the cost of getting them graded and distributing them. Yeah. And this is why they're so expensive. This is why they're expensive.
So you said 250 or 240. I think I saw 240,000 out there. Is that right? Or
240,000 is the number I'm getting from the U.S. Mint.
Yeah,
probably true.
You know, obviously that's not enough to ease demand. I mean that's by the
not
letter
for a
of
second.
The law. Yeah, by the letter of the law, like that's the goal, is to meet the demand of the public. It's not happening.
If you don't think there are 240,000 eagle collectors in the world that are going to want these in the next couple of years, you're at.
Well, in production, it's the second lowest mintage, right? I think it's the second.
I think it's the lowest. It's got to be the lowest.
I'm trying to think of what the other.
Well, there might be a proof that's close.
No. There's another. We'll have to look it up. But yeah, if it's not the lowest, I think it's the second lowest. It's an incredible opportunity. And the comment on I made a post earlier today. The comment was we're on both sides of the fence. It's not prudent. The other one was We'll see. It's very steep. You know, we're seeing Tommy. What do you have these at in 69? It's less than $100.
My 69s are $75 plus ship.
Right. Okay. So you're seeing a 69 at $75. Only 240,000 minted. In 10 years, are we going to care about coronavirus? Yes, we're going to care. It's still going to matter. A lot of people are saying, yeah, it is a piece of history.
Nothing like this has ever happened with the U.S. Mint.
Well, think about all these kids that are in school right now that are experiencing something totally different that none of their peers or none of their parents or grandparents have really experienced before. Yeah. In 10, 20, 30 years, they're going to be looking for that coin as essentially a token, like a remembrance of that time. Or, you know, I mean, there's just 2020, and you were the first person I heard say this. People are going to care about 2020 dated product, and I think you're right. You know, I think it's going to add extra little pop. This is just me speculating, but 2020 has been a momentous year. We've all seen the memes. You know, first started out with this and this and this, and then the
Bring out the Hornets, baby.
The murder Hornets. I mean, 2020 keeps bringing us. This is
snowing in May.
Year,
the middle of May, and it's snowing.
Yeah.
We had flurries today here in Pennsylvania. Flurries.
Yeah.
May 9th.
They did it in Minnesota too. That's where my family's from, is Minnesota.
So but that's Minnesota. It's supposed to snow there.
Yeah, well, I mean, not in May. Come on, man.
Not supposed to snow anywhere in May. Not even Alaska. All right.
Yeah. No, so I like the different labels. There's a green and white label out there that I think just kind of stands out a little bit. Just it kind of reads, or kind of, you know, reads that emergency, like, you know, I'd be happy to trade those.
My MS70s are $225. The nice thing about getting them from me, it's a reservation. It's not necessarily a pre-sale. I'm not taking your money. My order's in, and I will fulfill, and I will increase my order based on demand. Many places you go, you're going to give them your, you know, $250 or whatever you're going to give them, and you're not going to see your money or your eagle for weeks. Mm-hmm. So for me, I'm not taking your money until those eagles are ready to ship. And that'll probably be about 2 weeks. You will have them just as fast as everybody else. The only difference will be, even if you pay a few dollars more, you didn't have to give it to somebody and watch them sit on your money and get interest on it and go out and spend it on dinner.
Well, I mean, there's counterparty. There's always counterparty risk. I mean, if someone holds money, you know, that's
I mean, and you know the industry, RMC, Northwest Territorial Mint, scandals, people getting burned. Yeah, it happens right now with, as you say, the volatility. With this volatility, I honestly, I wouldn't dare ask for people's money in advance.
Yeah,
with the current climate, I've done it rarely prior, and I thought about doing this, but I just can't with a good conscience. Is the truth.
Yeah.
I'm taking the risk. I'm laying out a lot of money for these eagles. Trust me, because like he said, getting them raw wholesale is $40 an ounce. So that tells you I'm not making anything crazy. And you're looking at about $18 an ounce minimum to grade. Typically, you're looking at then all the distribution. There's not a ton of money in this, guys. Yeah. But I do believe one of the reasons I'm doing this is because I think it's an eagle that's worth getting out there. I think it's a piece of history. I know not everybody agrees, and that's fine. But I think this is a big winner, even if not short term. You know, and here's something I'll mention really fast. You know, when you have something like this, you have 240,000 eagles that are released at once by the wholesalers in the mint, and there's an allocation system that prevents like a monopoly, if you will. Mm-hmm. So the 240,000 eagles might be going out to only, believe it or not, 20 dealers, wholesalers.
Less than that.
Less. I say 20, but I think it's somewhere 10 to 15.
It's 13 right now.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
I like to say 10 to 15. I want to catch it. So 13 people are getting the 240,000 eagles on an allocation basis. So they're getting somewhere around 10% each. Let's just say for wild numbers. You know, and it makes it tough, you know, because they're all going to get them at the same time. They're all getting them graded at the same time. The grading companies are in overdrive right now. And what happens is they have their own race to the bottom. Because like Jake said, these businesses are in the business of selling metals. They don't hedge. They don't hold. and they want to see who can be the fastest to get rid of their 24,000 first.
Yeah.
And so what happens in the beginning is sometimes people say, hey, Tommy, you know, I just saw somebody drop their price $5. That will happen in the beginning. And it might, I'm locked in, you know, and it is what it is. But what I think is going to happen then is after they jockey and, you know, they're only going to go so low because they can only go so low.
Yeah.
Then I think over the next year, 2 years, I think it'll happen faster than people realize. I think you'll start to see that increase as people put them in strong hands. Because once that flood comes out, they're going to go into strong hands, and there's not going to be as many out there as you think. This is something that people are going to hold on to. My opinion. Do you have any thoughts like that along those lines?
The other thing that I want you guys to pay attention to is you can go online and you can check the PCGS and the NGC pop reports, and you'll see exactly how many coins. We know there's this finite 240K. We also know that we can see how many NGC and PCGS slab together. It's going to be an incredible portion of that 240K. It's going to be over 200,000 coins that are going to be graded, certified.
Right, exactly.
All these APs, all the majors, they're sending them straight to your boy Miles, or they're sending them to the left coast there to get graded. Pay attention to those pop reports. I'm feeling that what doesn't get graded is in a vault somewhere. It's in a sealed monster box in a vault. There's no reason to crack one of these boxes.
That's right.
If you do it, I mean, think about that premium, at least $20 over an average silver eagle. Okay, so you're throwing away 10 grand just by snipping that strap. Don't do it. They're not going to do it. They're not done. So you're going to see a lot of these slabbed. Huge portion.
There are some Miles Standish signed eagles that will be released. I'm possibly getting them. What's your opinion on NGC versus P? Sorry about that. What's your opinion on PC? Yes, versus NGC. Do you have one?
I like NGC modern. I like a lot of times it depends on the coins, but for Silver Eagles, I like NGC hands down.
Great. For me,
they've been friends for.
I don't know if I have a preference. I never of all the things I collected, I never really collected slabs coins. I love Miles Standish. I love NGC coins. In terms of advice, I say love what you hold. The slabs have slightly different styles. And there is one bit of advice I do give about grading. When people ask me about who they should submit to, and it goes back to what you just said, Jake, always check the population reports. If you want to get a certain piece graded and there are 1,000 graded by NGC and there's only 3 graded by PCGS, I'd go where there's 3 graded. Yeah. Regardless of who I loved more, that's just a financial decision to me, because there's going to be more demand where there's less coins graded. Yeah, that makes sense.
My experience with NGC has always been awesome. We actually got them to certify and number grade some privately minted product, which hadn't been done. That was the 4 horsemen. I got these right here. So they did the 4 horsemen proof. This is serial number 2. I don't know if you can see it or not. I have the whole set. I have all number 2 serial numbered. But they a lot of companies will certify a privately minted silver round, but they won't number grade it. NGC did that for us. I feel like they're more progressive when it comes to like getting the customer what they want, and they realize that they're about certification, but also about packaging. It's got to look nice. It's got to be, it's got to evoke some kind of emotion out of you. And
much more visually appealing.
Yes. Yeah.
I agree. Would it be smarter to buy the 75.69 or spend the 75 on raw bars?
Depends where you're at. I would say it depends where you're at. I mean, do you have your bases covered on the low premium, quote unquote low premium stuff right now? We're seeing 100-ounce bars trade at $3 wholesale, $3 an ounce. Over, and normally those are 25 cents. So those are crazy premiums. But if you have your bases covered, I mean, have fun, enjoy. I
agree.
Yourself. I mean, it's
enjoy this.
But it's fun. It's history, man.
If you start thinking about your decisions with silver in terms of financial motivation, you're not going to have a good time, in my opinion. And I'm speaking from personal experience. It sort of crushed me. The weight of, I know silver's going to go up. I know it's going to go up. I know it's going to go up. It has to go up. I'm reading it. Everybody I'm reading is telling me it's going to go up. And, so if you go to that place, I believe you'll be disappointed. And that's why I encourage people not to go there. I encourage people to stack from a place of joy and love of the hobby, a place of joy and love for the metals, and with the knowledge that it's a store of wealth and can definitely go up.
Right on, brother. I love
it. What about first day of issue? Strength and Unity Jewels. I would say that if you're going to buy slabs, first day of issue, early release, first strike, those are the desired slabs. Jake, you could probably speak to this too, but like even APMEX, they're on a skewed down model, but those will always be desirable slabs.
Yep. Okay, so here's my 2 cents on that. I like the first day of issue designation over early release and first releases, just because those the last 2 terms they're kind of ambiguous. Like, what actually does that mean? First day of issue, I understand what that means. It means the first day it came out, it was there, and not necessarily at NGC. NGC does have depositories, right?
And even though they have a definition, like you said, to the average consumer, it's right.
Yeah, I like first day. I've always pushed for first day whenever I can. So
guys, man, that hour went so fast, Jake.
No doubt, no doubt.
That was awesome. Have you ever heard of the anti-stack?
Huh?
Have you ever heard of the anti-stack?
You know, you sent that message. I don't know what that means. What is the anti-stack?
Careful. Just be careful. He's a shady, shifty character on Instagram at antistacking.nyc. Can you believe it? He's just me, but like anti-me.
Really?
Yeah. Antistacking.nyc.
Wow.
It's really crazy, man. The guy's been harassing me for 2 years.
Uh-oh.
Well, you just have to look up antistacking.nyc, and it's really crazy. He hasn't posted in a while. He's been pretty quiet, you know. But Jake, in all seriousness, watch out for the anti-stack. But I want to thank you. He's my Wario. Ninja Stacking knows. Some of these guys know. But thank you very much. I really appreciate you taking this time on a Saturday night. All you guys, you know, away from your family and just doing this to be together and learn together. Together we stack, together we grow, right, Julio? I think he's in here. What do you want to say to the people?
Well, just thanks for your time. Thanks for the comments. It's been awesome. This is my first time. I'm loving Instagram even more and more after going through something like this. So I'm jacked. Go follow us. You know, we're trying to bring you the right information in a timely fashion, having a dialogue, just being a part of the community, you know, so awesome. I look forward to it. And thanks for the opportunity, Tommy.
Thank you, guys. Thank each and every one of you. Love you guys. Jake, we'll talk soon. How you stacking?